And the last but not least, we have Peter Bilzerian, tech entrepreneur, US Managing Director, MPP Insights. He is a tech entrepreneur, data leader, and angel investor. He started his first company at the age of 15 and now serves as the US Managing Director and investor at MPP Insights, a data engineering and analytics firm headquartered in the United States with an R&D hub in Armenia. Previously, he led data engineering and business intelligence initiatives at Bank of America. His work and advocacy has been featured at the New York Times and Good Morning America. So welcome to the panel. Thank you for being here. And we will start with the question to all of you. Angels are called the first believers. In your ecosystems, are angels really enabling companies to grow from 0 to 1? Or are they waiting until broad signals are already visible? Yeah, only.
Is this on? I hope it is. Hey, everybody. So I'll give you the investor perspective. I straddle between the US and Armenia. So I'm kind of part of both ecosystems per se. In the US, personally, there's a bubble. There's a huge bubble going on with AI. And now I think a lot of angel investors, venture capital, and private equity, they're starting to realize that they do have to do a little bit of de-risking. There's a little bit of de-risking required before they can invest their capital. And it's so easy now to create an MVP. It's so easy to get that proof of concept very early. Well, what I'm really trying to say is it's easier to de-risk it, and the investors are requiring it to be de-risked. So that's the investor perspective.
So, Peter, I have a question for you. The definition of angel investor is changing. Do you think the next generation of angels will look more like mentors, operators, or micro VCs? And what does that mean for startup growth?
That is a fantastic question, Nare. And I'll tell you, it is looking like operators. The investors look like operators. See, one of the things when I first started working with Armenia 6 years ago, it's actually, you were one of the first people I met. When you were doing Everytech with Sarkis, I came to the Hero House. And first, I was inspired by what you did. And when I left, I think they're builders. I said, those are builders. And we need to connect two things to builders, right? The first one is other builders to fill in the gap. Second, it's the go-to-market strategy. And well, maybe there's third, it's the capital, obviously, which all of these great people provide. The future of angels, generally, it's becoming younger, a younger demographic. When I first visited Armenia, I saw a lot of the makeup of the diversity of angel investors, and I was, quite frankly, not astonished. I was not astonished by any means that it's skewed very much old, and they don't look like the next generation of founders and builders. Now, to put that more precisely, we need more women angel investors. Unfortunately, well, actually, I'm going to say fortunately, it's improved over the last half decade significantly. But when you ask that question, what do they look like? It's the operators, a lot of the female and women who are professionals in our great diaspora that come here and they provide their expertise on the ground. And it's less of angel investing. I would say it's kind of a micro private equity model where they provide their resources directly. The model of angel investing generally, I think it's going extinct because of that. And the future of angels look more like private equity because, obviously I could go put money into a company, any company, and maybe there's some light advising 2 hours a month, or maybe there isn't. Maybe you don't want to be involved. But your chances, you are basically parlaying your bet and betting on it double by investing your time and expertise, your networks. So I think it's the people with that mindset who will have A, more successful companies, and B, we're also going to attract more of those people. The hope is that we can reach into our great diaspora all over the world and bring them here and not contribute their capital. Money, you can find money anywhere. But what you can't find is that technical knowledge. It's the experience. And I'll give you one more thing. I'll give you one more thing. Those are the people who I talk to all the time, who work in banks. They work in logistics. These are high-level people who may not have a lot of money to invest, but they want to be involved. They want to be here.
Isn't it like that angel investors should should expect less traction than VCs? But if we consider them to become mini VCs in the future, who will fill that gap of the first very small checks for the startups?
You know, filling the gap, I think it's also the same people, those same angel investors, because chances are they're very well connected to those venture groups, to private equity. But if they're not, also remember what I said earlier, it's getting more inexpensive to get things going, unless it's deep tech, biotech, things that require millions of dollars. Generally, anything with, SaaS startups, low cost, low build MVPs, and then you actually execute it. But I think kind of what you were after is, where does the first check come from, right?
And I have a question for Peter. So you have built businesses that connects the US and Armenia. What can local founders and angels learn from international markets about building scale-ups, data-driven companies?
That is a loaded question, but that's a great question as well. I think you're asking about is, how do you scale up startups? Well, let me just tell you about a great real example of how we actually took an Armenian company and scaled it up. I think learning by example might be the best. Starting from the beginning, there was this company called MPP Labs here in Armenia that does data engineering and data analytics. They service companies all over Eurasia, the Middle East. I have a background at Bank of America doing data engineering, business intelligence. My background is technical. I'm a technical guy. I may not look like I'm technical, but I'm technical, or at least I try to be. And when I came to Armenia a few years ago, I met the founder of this organization. I thought, this guy's a genius. And then I forgot about him for maybe a year and a half until he approached me. And again, this isn't a startup, by the way. This isn't directly what we would consider a startup that's pre-revenue, pre-Series A. This is a service-based company, but they act like a startup. They need to export to international markets. So he said, well, I want to open up a US office. We want to sell to America, open that door. And really, I helped him do that through local partnership. And I think startups have a lot to learn when they understand, what does local partnership look like. So long story short about MPP Insights, as my model suggested earlier, I act like a private equity firm. I invested into 25% of the entire company. We moved the entire headquarters to the US, rebranded it as an American company, and we opened up a full office in the US to grow the US market. Unfortunately, many startups are not flush with capital to do that, to open up a full office. And that's fine, right? That is completely fine. But the local partners are what matters most. There are low-cost strategies to do the same thing. Again, our great diaspora. There's people all over the world who are willing to help be that local facilitator and partner. Most of those people, right, they're highly technical. So the story with MPP Insights, we brought them to the US. It's a great success story, by the way. We're expanding by 30 data engineers over the next 6 months here in Armenia because we brought it to the US. So what I call, and I've been saying this a lot lately, we dumped jet fuel on it. And that's what it's supposed to look like. It's really having an ambassador there for these Armenian companies. You build a real bridge. That's really what it looks like. And what you can learn from the US, probably, just have local partners. I mean, really, you could learn that from anywhere, right? If you enter into the Middle East, you always need a local partner. If you enter into Asia, especially Japan, you need local partners.
Yes.
And I'll tell you something that's fascinating. We have Armenians everywhere in the world, even in Japan.
Yeah, we have angel investor, by the way, female angel investor from Japan. So we are having everyone from every corner of the world. So having to summarize the advice or something that could be helpful for companies, if they enter some new markets, find a local partner there instead of spending money on researches or seeing what's your uncomfortable truth to founders.
I'll give you two of them.
Hey,
The first one, you can't fix a bad attitude, but you can teach someone with a great attitude something, but you can't fix a bad attitude. I have learned over the years that I need to trust my gut more. My gut, it's gotten a little bit bigger over the years, all this great Armenian food. But when your gut says something after years and years of experience investing in companies, working in the professional field, you got to trust your gut. You got to trust your gut about someone. That first impression is the lasting impression. And if that first impression is a bad impression, it's like a footprint in wet concrete. Over the years, I've made many mistakes of investing in companies, and I've had to walk back from them. I've resigned from boards. I've left companies because of attitude, stubbornness, things like that. Things I should have started with very, very early, but I did not. And my advice to founders is be open-minded, be uncomfortable, be open. That's the truth. Now, the second uncomfortable truth, investors want to make money, have a way to make money. And if you don't have a way to make money, it's okay to not know that yet. But that's why you have to get great advice. And, a lot of these great angel groups will help you get there. You just need to be open and willing to accept it.
Here. So we already see there. So one, and then there was someone also here. Yeah, the second question. Please introduce.
Thank you very much for a very interesting discussion. My question is about what's your networks and the angels that are part of your network perspective on solo founders, at least that is very early stage. Have you had any successful cases with solo founders, the angel investing, angel stage? And when I say solo founders, I don't mean just someone with an idea, let's say with an MVP, part of an international accelerator and stuff like that. And doing some active testing with customers. And the second question, which is, what's your opinion about the recent discussions that we are going to have, one person unicorns, some discussions from Samal and then the founders of the Anthropic and so on. Do you think it's just them promoting their products because it's AI, companies, or you think there is some truth to that in your opinion? Thank you.
Yes. Well, I've got a good answer for you as well. The solo founders are okay to an extent, but I want you to think about this analogy. And I love food analogies, by the way. I'll tell you that first off. I love going to a restaurant that is hole in the wall. It's ran by one chef that is great at cooking, because you can connect that business expertise to grow his restaurant, but you cannot take someone who is a business person and open up a restaurant. 9.9 times out of 10, those restaurants have terrible food. And I want you to think about that. Most times when we look at solo founders, they are technical. They are technical geniuses, and we can connect the business into that. That's no problem. Now, unfortunately, it's somewhat rare. It's becoming a little bit more common that you have both the business expertise and the technical expertise. And if you are that person who has both of them, I want to talk to you after this, perhaps, because I bet you have a good company out there. Yeah, smiling.
Yeah, and actually, I would love to answer this as well